The green card lottery was established, I don't know, in the 1990s, spearheaded by Senator Kennedy, now deceased, and originally tried to bring Irish people here in the United States, but they broadened it and said that for those countries that don't have high immigrant numbers in the United States, we're going to create an opportunity of up to 50,000 diversity visas that could turn into green cards that are randomly chosen. You put your name in a lottery. If it's chosen, you could potentially get a green card. They say 50,000 a year, but not that many actually finish because there's so many problems in this program that could happen. Typos in your initial application could happen. They could be, embassy shutdowns. Your case may not get adjudicated in time because there's a deadline. And so there's a mess of problems that exist. And it's just gotten worse with the COVID situation and the pandemic. And this has also led to a lot of litigation and fighting in court. And even when people have won in court when suing the Department of State, Department of State has not been as helpful and forthcoming in completing what they're supposed to do. And so, Anya, could you talk more about what the new changes have been in DV Lottery and some updates?
Yes, we just got a very important information on December 9th, last week, from the Department of State. They changed the process of how people who won the lottery for 2022, how they will go through the whole process. Okay, before this year, usually KCC, Kentucky Center, right? They take all the documents from the applicants, they process them, and then they schedule the interview, right? They see what's missing, what's not missing, right? So now Department of State says, okay, we will take off KCC from the whole process. Now the applicants will submit DS-260 directly to KCC, and that's it. No other documents, right, would be submitted to KCC. So, and they will not be able to check if the documents satisfy the requirements or they don't, right? Now the embassies will do it. And it's a good and bad news at the same time. So why it might be a good news, right? Department of State says that it might make the whole process easier and faster. And because as John mentioned, there have been a lot of litigation recently regarding DV lottery, and a lot of people were not able to immigrate and to use their entries if they won. And part of this problem was also because KCC was not able to process the documents as fast as they're supposed to. Okay, and supposedly now the process should be faster. So this is the good part. But the bad part about all that is that DV winners now will have only this one chance of showing that they're qualified for the DV lottery, right? For example, if they don't submit all the documents properly, right, to the embassy the first time, they might not be able to use to get their visas, right? There are so many details about that. I will go over the documents that needed for DV winners that they will need to present to the embassy. First thing is birth certificate. Okay, again, we had a video about that. You can look at it a couple of weeks ago about how the importance of checking your birth certificate, right?
Yeah, make sure the information is proper. Yeah, people really should watch that because it seems really benign. It's like, oh, that's not big deal. It's a birth certificate. Massive problems with birth certificate all the time. So really check your document, watch the video about registration dates, spellings, make sure translations are right, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So and only long version of birth certificate is acceptable, not the short one, right? And both parents has to be listed, and so on and so on and so on, right? So number one thing.
You really have to check. There's a website called the Visa Reciprocity website for Department of State, and you find your country because, like in France, they issue now a lot of times this EU version of your birth certificate that's intended for languages, and people want to use that. But the U.S. government does not accept that. They want the birth certificates that's from your local town or city in France. And that's sometimes hard to get, or the translation hard to do because it's handwritten. But it's really weird, and there's a lot of million and one nuances to international birth certificates.
Exactly. Same thing with South Africa, right? You have to get like special version of your birth certificate. I forgot what it's called, but it has some like special name for it, right? That is acceptable by US. Okay, so going back to the list of documents, right? Proof of education, very, very, very important, right? To show the eligibility for the visa, person has to satisfy certain educational requirements, right? So you have to bring all your diplomas, at least you're supposed to have at least high school diploma and everything that's higher, right?
Mhm.
So all the documents, I should probably say it at the end, but I will say it now and I will repeat it at the end. All the documents that is not in English have to be translated by a certified translator, right, and presented to the consular officer. So please
Yeah,
don't forget about that.
that goes with it. So translator certifies that they're fluent in both languages. And the alternative to the 2-year high school education or high school education is 2 years of work history in a field to prove that you have this work experience as an alternative. And it does come prop up. There's many countries I've had clients don't have high school education. So then we have to go and say, okay, let's prove your work experience, get job letters. It gets complicated because how do you prove that? You may have tax records, but some countries don't have that kind of paperwork. So then you have to get letters and other proof to document the work experience.
Exactly. So that's where it gets complicated, right?
Yeah.
All the criminal records, if you have any like criminal history, right? Police certificate, military records, very important too. Everything should be translated.
Yeah.
And you have to take all these documents with you to the interview. Um, I would like to add important thing about police certificates because not a lot of people know about that. It's in regards to DV visas and in regards to any other immigrant visas, right? So, for example, it's always good to have these police certificates not only under their married name, right, but to get it as well under their maiden name too.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
From police certificates from all the countries where the applicant lived for more than 1 year, right, after they turn 16 years old, right, and from their country of nationality if they live there for 6 months, more than 6 months, right, and the current country where they live if they live there for more than 6 months, right. So
Yeah.
this is very important too. Again, translation is required. An expired passport, and the passport has to be valid for at least 6 months after the applicant intends to enter the United States. So, and passports have to be presented for all family members at this stage, not just for the principal applicant, but for all the family members, right? And DS forms too, the S260 has to be submitted for all the family members who are migrating, right?
And I have a copy of the receipt notice for that too, that you filed it.
Yes, it's one of the first documents that you have to present showing that you submitted the S260 indeed, right? Along with the entrance status check saying that yes, you want the lottery, right? And all the other correspondence that KCC sends you.
The diversity visa law, sorry to jump in there, it's just like it's more complicated consular processing than the other categories because especially when there was the NBC uploaded in the CEAC or CEAC website, it's kind of more formalized, but it's similar to the K1 visa where you don't upload documents, you take it there. And when they do that, it's kind of loosey goosey, like what documents to bring. It makes it confusing for people because they don't have it all in one place. It's just so troublesome. It makes it extra hard for people to do it right, especially if they don't speak English, maybe in countries that don't have as easy internet access. This is just hearing you talk, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much you have to do to make sure this is right. And it's so risky because if you don't get it right at the embassy, they may ask you to submit the paperwork later, but that delay could cause massive problems because your case has to be approved before the end of September. Sorry, go ahead. And just so you're hearing this, I'm like, the bad news is worse than the good news because I'd rather have if you start early with this and uploading these and they approve it, they'll give you a lot of time and you'll know at least your documents are correct to a certain extent. They're not always correct when they say your documents are correct, but it's just so many problems that can emerge because of this.
Yes, you're absolutely correct, John. Right now, the person will go to the embassy, and only at the embassy, the consular officer will tell them, okay, this is not enough. We need this, that, and this. And you forgot to, for example, some documents are missing, right? And they will tell you, okay, bring them. And you have to bring them before the September 30th. Actually, the embassy has to issue a visa before September 30th. And that's it. If it's after that, one day, 1st of October, it's not happening.
You forget a police certificate from a country that's hard to get, like Canada for the going COVID is like you have to get a police certificate from the Royal Mounted Police RCMP, whatever they call it. And they were saying like, yeah, expect 3 or 4 months delay and get it. So if someone goes to interview and all of a sudden they used to live in Canada they're not going to get their police certificate in time. So that's why starting early with the old system is much better, or hiring an attorney and just getting this stuff done now, way before your interview is scheduled, is the way to go, because there's just so much risk baked into this game.
Exactly. And you DV winners, right? They just wait, right? They don't pick and choose when they're gonna be called for an interview, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
so it's always better to get prepared very well in advance, right? So I'm going back to the list of documents.
Sure.
Um, uh, Medical exam, understandably, right? A fee payment too for every applicant is $330, right? Usually it's cash, but depends on the instructions for each and every embassy. It might be different.
Yeah, that's gonna be different. Each embassy does their payments differently. Yeah.
Right. A very important thing: evidence that applicant won't become a public charge. This is probably one of the most important things about all that, right? Along with the showing proofs that the applicant satisfies the educational requirements, right?
Yeah.
So here, we still have this public charge. It didn't go anywhere. A lot of people think that it faded somewhere, but it's not. It's still here, and people have to prove that we winners specifically, they have to prove that they will not become a public charge in the United States. So what they can show, right, to prove that. For example, job, if they have steady job, of course, by the time they're going to immigrate to the United States, they will not have steady job, right? But they might have job offer, for example, right, from employer in the United States, right? They can show bank statements showing that they have some money saved on their bank account, right? They can show assets. It can be cars, it can be real estate, right? Please don't sell anything before you get the visa. This is you not to forget about that, right? So anything that you have that has some value can be used to show that you'll not become a public charge, right? Also, there is an option that if you have someone in the United States, like a friend, a family member, acquaintance, doesn't really matter. They can sign a form. It's called I-134, right? Or 134. It's affidavit of support. Usually, this affidavit of support is used for non-immigrant visas, but in this context, it can be used to show that DV winner will not become a public charge and that he has a sponsor in the United States. Sponsor, again, has to be a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident.
And it's best that they be living in the United States. So weird that they use that instead of I-864, which is usually used for family-based green cards. But the education or work experience requirement is like a minimum to try to combat the public charge. So that's kind of part of it. But yeah, they want more sometimes. Depends on the consular officer. If you have a bachelor's degree, a master's, PhD, the educational component could help. If you have proof of language, English equivalency, all this stuff, it helps the officer understand that this person is going to be able to come to the United States and pick up and not, have to borrow money or get money from the government. So obviously, assets, like you said, and sponsorship is good, but you can add on education, add on other things to show that this person is qualified. They may have health insurance already or something like that. They also whatever we used to do, and people not be aware of this, for the special Trump version of public charge rule, they take all this up into consideration. You can potentially throw it out there. More the better. You got to be safe. You really only get like one shot at this interview, because if it's delayed, you might lose out. So now you want to go in fully prepped. It's such an important video that I talk about. Hopefully people can see it, because it's a really, well, if you win that lottery, you're so excited, but you still haven't won yet. It's just the beginning.
You have to win 2 times.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people don't win. Every year they say 50,000, but probably only like 30,000 get the green card every year. So it's a large chunk of people who make mistakes or don't have
Well,
what's not needed.
in last 2 years during the pandemic, yes, it was less than half, if I'm not mistaken, taken into account all the litigation and everything, right?
Yeah, it's
Right.
dramatic.
Yes. So just to sum up, um, please be very careful. Read the instructions on your specific U.S. embassy, right? Because U.S. embassies, they differ, and there might be some like slight difference in the documents that they want to see specifically for your country, right? And I would probably add that I think that because of this new rule, the denial rate will probably go up again. Because why? Because a lot of people they will not be able to prepare the documents properly, and the visa officers, again, they might put them on hold, just tell them just bring us documents, right? They might put them on administrative processing too. There is an option, and that's it. If application goes into administrative processing, it can last forever, and chances are very, very high that you'll not be able to get your DV visa by the end of the fiscal year 2022, because all what we're talking about today is in regards to DV 2022. So it's a like pilot program right now that they took the KCC out of the process. They want to see how it's gonna work out, right? If it's gonna be good or bad for the government, for the applicants, right? Costs, all the benefits. So we will see how it's going to work. And I wish everyone good luck. And if you need help with that, please reach out to us and we will be glad to help you.
Yeah, definitely schedule a consultation. Email us at info@jqklaw.com. Briefly mention what the reason is you're contacting us, and we schedule a private video consultation to go over and decide what to do. Now is the time to do it, because of, people that were chosen got notifications by now, and it's starting, the interview process is happening. So you want to jump on that. A lot of interviews are going to be in March and April and May. So we want to have all the paperwork ready. So just email us at info@jqklaw.com.